everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and I work with a lot of individuals with attachment wounds. Today, I actually wanted to go over a topic that I feel like a lot of people are curious about, and it's kind of what helps an avoidant to commit or propose, depending on your perspective, because a lot of people don't want to get married, and I do respect that. So I'm kind of talking about maybe some of the people that do want to get married, or what you guys consider like a lifelong commitment. And I do see this a lot in my practice, but it takes a lot of time and a couple steps on both individuals' parts to kind of let that occur. And it needs to be understood that not all avoidants change, but many do. It can be challenging in a long process, but it's normally really fulfilling. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of avoidant individuals are, they're pretty loyal, especially once they actually open up and commit. Not all of them, but the reason why I bring that up is a lot of avoidant individuals, they don't really like commitment. And so by not liking commitment in the process of love, it's really scary for them. So that when they do that with one person and they really open up and give their heart to one person, it's very likely, especially if the avoidant has healed throughout this process, it's very likely that they don't really want to do that again. It's actually why a lot of avoidants, they become very devastated when these long-term relationships break up, especially if they're not the instigator, because they gave you, as the partner, they gave you their heart, they gave you their wounds, they gave you everything they were afraid to give. And so once they give that to somebody, they're very, very loyal and they're very connected to the relationship. Like it's a huge part of their life. A lot of avoidants, they don't tend to have many friends. And when you're in a relationship with an avoidant and you've been with them for a long time, you're one of the fundamental aspects of their life. Most of the avoidants that I work with, especially the ones in long-term relationships, they have hobbies that are typically independent or they might be social, but they're not necessarily with friends. So it could be like playing poker or watching sports with maybe a friend or two, or they're watching sports and they're sports betting with their friend like by text. But it's not like the depth of a lot of relationships that maybe secure individuals have, where they actually go and hang out, or they talk a little bit more about feelings, or doing things together, or planning things together, whether it's even going to a party or whatever it is. Avoidants don't typically do that, especially as they get older. In general, people don't, but definitely avoidants. Their life typically is their hobby, their partner, and their job. Because a lot of them also might be pretty detached from their families. They may be close emotionally, but they don't hang out with their family a lot. And so you as the partner, you're a fundamental part of their life. And so when an avoidant proposes and commits to you and they really decide that you're the one, it's very unlikely they're going to step out once that happens. So they're very loyal. I wanted to make this video to highlight the kind of different avoidance that I've seen and kind of examples that I've seen that helps them really open up and commit. And some of the precursors that I noticed while practicing, what I feel helped them commit, and also things that they've told me. Avoidants, they can be pretty direct and they can tell you, if they're aware and definitely working on themselves, they can tell you what made them want to commit. And some of them haven't. So I'll give you some of those examples. I also have worked with certain avoidants who don't change, and I've made a video on that, and I can link that below. And so that's also important to recognize that you can invest in somebody and it might not always change. And so you need to understand that if you're seeing progress, basically, if you're seeing progress with your partner and you're seeing a lot of change, then it's a very likelihood that you will continue to see that change. If you're not seeing progress, then you guys might have to work on something more specific to start seeing some of those differences. So why commitment is so important, especially for an avoidant, is they're afraid of commitment, and that's part of their wound. And so commitment tends to lead to a healthy expression of self-confidence and love in general. So commitment typically is quite healthy. Whether you want to label it or not, commitment with one individual tends to be pretty healthy, depending on how you see it. But there's a lot of research on commitment and how it really helps individuals with their mental health as well. So normally, if a person is avoiding commitment, there's some sort of fear that creates that barrier. So we want to make both individuals heal and do the work so that this dynamic in the relationship can work. This does not mean that you have to put up with like breadcrumbs or that you have to put up with only a small amount of attention. However, it's important to realize that very little bids of affection on the avoidance part actually is a very big deal to them. So it's important to recognize what the avoidant feels is love comparison to what you think is love, so that you can start realizing maybe there is a lot that they are giving me that I can't see. And that's just something I wanted to bring up. So first, let's talk about the barriers about what stops an avoidant from committing, and then I'm going to give you examples in my practice, what I've seen that helps them actually commit. So one of the barriers for an avoidant to take their time to commit or pull away from marriage, engagement, and lifelong partnership is their fear of failure, which typically translates to the fear of breaking up, because if you guys break up, that means he or she, the avoidant, picked the wrong partner in their mind, and that means they're a failure. So this is often a really huge barrier to the actual label of committing. So girlfriend, boyfriend, wife, husband, fiance, whatever it is, that label is really important in relationships typically. But that label, the reason why they withhold from giving that label is because in their mind, that means they did make a choice. And then if it fails, then they feel like their choices are not trustworthy. They're afraid that they're not able to really solidify what they want in a relationship. And they feel like, okay, so I have a problem with relationships. I knew it. I don't know what relationships are. I don't know what love is. Why did I pick this person? This person left me. I'm never going to love again. So all those spirals are always in their head anyways. And the fact that a relationship failed, that will create an even bigger barrier for them to ever open up in love. So that's why they're really afraid of labels. And so why did I tell you that? Because a lot of individuals, and I see this a lot on like online and social media and things like that, and that concerns me because from what I've studied and what I practice, it's not healthy, and that's ultimatums. Now, I understand that there's a time and place for everything, but a lot of people give this advice that like give an avoidant an ultimatum and suddenly they're going to come back and propose, or like some no contact thing or whatever. I get that, and it probably works, but I want people to be healthy. I don't like games and manipulation. I want couples to last. Because I feel like if you do that, they'll propose for the moment, but then they'll pull back again. It'll just create a cycle. I've seen the hot and cold, off and on type thing. I don't think it's healthy. I could be wrong, and I will admit if I'm wrong. I have no problem being wrong. It's just I think ultimatums is a big barrier to the fear healing, right? And why is that? When a person gives an ultimatum, that means they're saying, I'm going to walk out if you don't do this. And the avoidant doesn't know how to give you that. And so they feel anxious and really afraid. And then that brings up their fear of failure. And so they're either going to give in and then pull away. But regardless, they're not going to not ever, but they're going to have a hard time trusting you and loving you. So if there's a lot of ultimatums and off and on in the situation, this is going to create a lot of issues. So I see off and on relationships with avoidance, and typically what ends up happening is you introduce an insecurity in the relationship, and that doesn't feel good for either of you, right? Like if you're the avoidant, you feel uncomfortable and frustrated, and if you're the partner, you also feel frustrated. It makes the relationship feel very unstable. So if you want to leave, that's understandable, but it should be something that you have decided in general. Like it is your barrier, it's your boundary that you want to leave, and you're going to keep it that way. Doing the off and on situation can be very hurtful because it can be manipulative if you're doing it to make your partner change, but not just that. Because some fearful avoidants, they do ultimatums not because they're being manipulative, but because they're having more of their moods. But what ends up happening is you start to introduce a lot of insecurity with the relationship, and you start being more closer to losing your partner than gaining your partner back. That may sound strange, and I'm sorry if this video is a little bit all over the place. I'm kind of collecting a lot of thoughts that I've had for the couple weeks and with some of my cases and a lot of things that I've seen that's good, a lot of breakthroughs, and then maybe not so good things. So that's why this video is a little bit in this direction, and I apologize for that. I just want to give you guys as much information as possible. The next one, a barrier to committing, is that they don't operate well under pressure. This is really similar to the first one. So avoidants can get really in their head, right? They can get in their head about even like bedroom intimacy. That's why a lot of them pull away from bedroom intimacy. They're pretty insecure about how they're feeling. They don't know why they're not able to connect on the same level you guys are, you who are not avoidants. And even fearful avoidants, they may be a little bit better with this, because fearful avoidants, they feel really guilty, and so they're able to sometimes try to connect in the bedroom, but dismissive avoidants, they really struggle. That's just an example, but why do I say they don't operate well under pressure? I'm going to give an example. So I had a case, and I may talk about this case a little bit more throughout this video because this has a lot of issues that kind of comes up in general. I have a patient, or a couple, but the avoidant is my patient. He's in a long distance relationship, and it's also long term. And I'm going to change a couple things so that obviously I protect my patient's information. And one of the issues is that his partner wants them to move in together. And I understand what she's saying. They've been together for 4 years, and they've been long distance for 2 of those years. And so she wants to know, like, she just wants them closer, and she feels like he's not really valuing their relationship because he works in the city, which is a little bit far from, the main area where I guess we are. And that city is like an hour away, and he lives there. And she lives in the more rural area that I'm talking about. And so it's pretty difficult for her to continue to see him because of that distance. And when you get closer to the city, there's a lot of traffic. So it's really hard for them to see each other. And so she wants them to be together. However, the issue is, the more she pressures him, the more he tells me, like privately in session, he keeps telling me, and this may sound a little harsh, but he's like, to me, she's not understanding that my job is really important. So to me, I think her ask of me moving with her is irrational and emotional. That's what he said. I don't know how true that is. I don't observe them that much when they're disagreeing. I see them in couple sessions sometimes, but more often it's an individual session, so I just hear more from his side. But he's telling me that she puts him under a lot of pressure, and all that makes him want to do is connect with her less, because he feels like if she has the need to put pressure on him, he thinks that means she's mentally and emotionally unstable. Those are really harsh words. Probably not true, but that's how he thinks. And the reason why is because he thinks somebody who's operating under, like, constantly putting someone under pressure, they don't trust the individual. And he's right about that. And he thinks it comes from a place of insecurity. And he's probably right about that too. And so for him, he feels like she's not thinking straight. And if she doesn't pressure him, that means she genuinely wants for them to move in together. I don't know if that made a lot of sense, but that's kind of the way he explains it to me. And this is a huge sticking point with their relationship. Like, they have fought about this for a long time, and he's not going to budge. However, I know him well enough that I know he doesn't like, he's okay with confrontation in session, but that's different because it's between me as a therapist and him. But he doesn't like if she keeps pressuring without making a logical reason as to why. Because to him, his logical reason is that he's trying to build an income for their future. And the only way he can do that is if he lives in the city. But she wants him to come back to their hometown, but there's no jobs there for him. And so he feels really frustrated. And he mentioned if she could move where he is, but she says that she can't do that because she wants them to grow, like, get married and raise a family in their hometown. So to him, he feels like she's being really unreasonable. And he's pulling more and more away. So why do I say this? If she were to, get off the brakes, I believe that he would open up, because he's actually told me if she didn't pressure me, I would be more willing to go ahead and move in with her or find an area that's more closer in the middle. Like, he has said that, but he almost deliberately pulls away because he's afraid that what she's saying is not rational. I hope that makes sense. The next one is fear of losing control. So a barrier between avoidant partners and connecting and committing is they're afraid to lose control when they commit. So how can I explain that? they're basically afraid that they're not going to get their needs met and they're going to lose control of that. So a lot of their needs are wanting space, wanting to be heard, wanting to be respected. And they're afraid that once they get married, that they're going to have to give up all of those things, right? And you see that I've had a lot of avoidant patients say that they're afraid that they're going to have to be in servitude when they get married. And yes, they use that word. And that's a really strong word. And they don't want to let go of what they believe in, who they are. And so it's very important that you as a partner, if you want them to be more open to committing, that you actually let them be themselves and prove that you will accept them for who they are, even if you guys get married. So suddenly don't expect that they're going to be 100% loving and you guys are going to have the most amazing bedroom intimacy, 5 times a week, and they're going to give you flowers and they're going to tell you that you're beautiful. Usually avoidants don't really ever get there because that's just not who they are. They will, find you in the snowstorm and change your tire for you. They will do that. They will pick you up from surgery even though they've had a really difficult day. They will do that. That's how they show love, right? And so accepting who they are is really important. They're afraid that they will lose that. So they're afraid to lose control of who they are. The next one is self-doubt. So avoidants have a huge fear of being inadequate in relationships, stemming from their past neglect, actually, right? From their childhood and from their parents and how their parents may have been very strict with them, typically, or they may have grew up in a military family. And a lot of times there's more rigid rules. They're not allowed to use electronics at a certain time. So they're really feeling like they're inadequate in general because they were really nitpicked in their childhood. That happens a lot. Not all the time, but it does. They fear they're not enough. And so when a partner highlights these perceived flaws, right? So if a partner says, you don't know how to do relationships, there's something wrong with you, you're mentally ill, whatever, it actually causes them to withdraw and actually prevents them from engaging deeply with anybody, but especially you as a partner if you're saying that, and they begin to resent you. And so these things, if you're doing that, they are not going to propose. Like, they're not going to. They may propose if they're vindictive, but they will pull away and they may even step out of the relationship. And I don't even want to get too detailed about that, but I have seen that, and that can be very troublesome for a relationship. You want to heal some of the issues before marriage anyways, typically. Not all of them, but most of them. And so you don't want to put them in a situation where they dislike you and feel negative towards you. Avoidants cannot always separate the negative and positive. So if they're feeling predominantly negative towards you, they don't even know they love you. And that can be that can be concerning if you want a healthy relationship. So adding more positivity is very important. And the last one is their fear of vulnerability. They fear that they're not enough. They fear that there's something wrong with them, right? And so they fear that they're not going to be accepted. By being vulnerable, they are saying, I'm willing to get hurt, and they're scared of that. So it's really important to be gentle with them, nurture them, and be direct with what you want. Avoidants are okay with meeting your needs as long as they trust you. And that is very difficult. So what can you do to kind of help them open up so that these fears don't get bumped in the relationship and they will be more willing to commit? So the first one is, for you as a partner, you want to have boundaries, but you want to be flexible with your boundaries. And why does this help your partner? Well, there are 2 reasons. One is that they realize that if they mess up, that you're not going to leave them. That's the first one. And the next one is that you're actually subconsciously teaching them as well. I had mentioned this before, but in relationships, we as individuals, all individuals, regardless of your attachment style, we pick things up from our partner as we get closer to them, right? So if your partner exercises every morning, you're going to start being more conscious of your health and your exercise routine as well, because this is what your partner's doing and you guys are very close, right? And so if you are more flexible to letting some of your needs take a little bit more time to be managed or whatever it may be, the avoidant partner will start being more flexible as well. So if you're more flexible, okay, I realize that you don't like public affection. I understand that. As long as we're being affectionate when we're alone together, I think that's okay. When you start being more flexible, the avoidant partner thinks, oh, okay, he or she is being more flexible with me. Maybe I should be more flexible with my partner, okay? So this is an extreme example. And this did lead to my patient getting married to his partner. Now not married, they're engaged. So this is now his fiance. And this happened pretty recently. This actually happened December 2024. And I'm going to share this with you, but I'm going to change something. So basically, they were having a problem with bedroom intimacy. They're together for a little over 5 years. And after the second to third year mark, the intimacy has died down tremendously, and to the point where they haven't been having it at all. And it's because of the avoidant partner. And he's a man, so I'm going to say that. And then the female is the partner. She's a little bit leaning fearful avoidant, but she's a little more anxious. Anyways, that detail doesn't really matter. So basically, they've been fighting about intimacy in the bedroom, and she keeps wondering why they are not intimate. And what ended up happening was they had this really big fight a little bit after Thanksgiving, where basically they were about to break up. And what ended up happening was he said, I just don't want to. I don't know why I can't. And I wish that you would stop pressuring me. I wish it would happen naturally. And I don't even know if we're ever going to have it again. He said that. He said, I don't know if we're ever going to have it again. I don't know if I ever want to have it again. It's not you, it's me, but I don't know what to do. And the more you pressure me, the more it makes me not want to. And he basically said, which he's never done before, he basically said, if you can't handle that, then maybe we shouldn't be together. And I think he was genuine about that. I do. And I was obviously not there, but they told me in session this is kind of what happened. And what she ended up saying was, okay, I didn't realize how much this was bothering you. And then she asked him, do you want this relationship to end? And he said, no, I don't. And she said, I don't either. So here's what I'm going to do. This is what she said. And this is an extreme example. I'm not telling you guys to do this, but I'm just telling you what happened. She said she's okay if they never have intimacy again. Seriously. She said, I'm okay if we never have it, because she knows, and she said this to me in session while he was there. She said because she knows it's not personal. She knows that it's his issue. And this is a really extreme case, but that happened in November. And recently, at the end of January, how many months is that? A couple months. She's pulled away from it, and this was really quick. This doesn't normally happen. She just stopped initiating. She stopped talking about it, and he initiated in the end of January. So it's a couple months, not even, right? So what does that mean? That she was planning an entire lifetime that they will never be intimate, and in a couple months, they literally were intimate right when she pulled away. That is amazing, by the way. That's amazing. And very recently, he told me that this inspired him to want to get engaged to her. So he's buying a ring. So he told her, they're both avoidant, so this process is a little different. Because she was able to pull away from that and let him open up, he decided that he wants to get engaged to her. He told her, hey, let's get engaged verbally. And then he said, I'm going to be buying a ring. So it's a little different of a process. But basically the point is they're going to get married. And so this is a huge step. And it happened because she basically let go all control and said, you know what? If this is really who you are, I accept you. And so that's a really big one. So she had boundaries, but she was flexible. The next one is be accepting of who they are. And let's look back at this case again. We want to accept our partners for who they are, regardless of their attachment style. We want to heal partners, right? As a therapist, I want to see you guys healing each other and helping, but I also want you guys to accept each other. So you want to create a non-judgmental environment. So that example that I just mentioned, she asked him, do you want us to break up? And he was honest. He said, no, but I don't want to continue hurting you. And so she made a decision. Instead of reacting poorly and being hurt that he said that, she decided, okay, you know what? I realize you can't do this. Whatever it is, this is just, you cannot do this. It's not personal. You cannot be intimate with me right now. And she decided, I accept that we may never have it again. And what happened in a couple months? He initiated and they were intimate. That doesn't mean they're going to have it like all the time. No, but it does mean that immediately when she decided, I'm going to respect you for who you are, it immediately helped him to open up. That was pretty quick. And he directly said, you know, this was enough for me to prove that she trusts me. I'm okay with being with this person forever. And that's what he decided, right? And so be accepting. The next one is direct communication. Let's go ahead and go back to this case again. And I'm going to continue to just use this specific case for a couple of these points. She specifically asked, what is it that you feel? What do you want? Do you want us to separate? She asked him how he feels, not his reaction, which was, okay, if I can't change, then maybe we should break up. She asked how he feels, and he said, no, I want us to stay together. So she directly communicated, basically, this is something I want. You know this is what I want, but I know that that's not something that you can give me right now, or maybe ever, and I'm okay with that. And she was okay with that. I could tell when she was telling me this in session, she was okay with it. She just decided, this is not worth it. I know that this is your issue. And by the way, she's fearful avoidant, so that might be part of it. She has avoidant characteristics as well. And she decided that this was okay. She was so clear about that and so direct and logical, that just clicked for him. And immediately he was willing to open up. So that's really important. The next one is respect and support. I have had another case that I'm going to talk about. This was a while ago, though. It's not on my caseload anymore. But respect and support is very, very important for an avoidant to open up and want to commit to you. I had a couple that I worked with where the respect was very, like, she would say a lot of negative things about him all the time. It almost felt a little bit emotionally abusive, honestly. She didn't think it was like that because she was so emotional, but she would call him like, oh, you know, the way you are is so disgusting. How can I deal with this? All you do is make me cry. I feel miserable. I wish that you would change, but I know you won't. You make me feel crazy. She was so negative and all the time just throwing it on him all the time. But they didn't start like this. She became more like this because he was so distant, and she didn't even know what avoidant attachment was until recently. So she didn't really realize what was going on. And so when they came to me, they were on the brink of obviously breaking up, right? Clearly he wants to stay. Otherwise, why would he agree to couple sessions, right? And what I mentioned to her was, how do you think he feels when you say that to him? And she said, well, he probably doesn't care because he doesn't care about me. He's not listening. If he cared, he would change. That's what she thinks. What do you think he said? He said, well, when I hear her say that, I feel like she's trying to throw me away. She doesn't like me. She doesn't respect me, who I am. And so by working with them for a while, I mentioned to her, this is not the way you're communicating to him. Like, if you continue to communicate with him like this, he's going to leave. And I asked him, what do you think? Do you think that you're going to leave if she continues like this? And he said, yeah. You know, I'm at my breaking point too. So we implemented a lot of strategies for her to respect who he is. And she did not like that at first. But if you want him to leave, then you can continue to be like that. I mean, sometimes I have to be direct with my patients. It's called confrontation. That's actually a clinical term. And I had to mention, you have to accept him for who he is. Otherwise, you do have to end this relationship. She decided to respect him. Okay, I know this is the way you are. I know that you want space. Go ahead and text me or let me know. Like, come downstairs. I'm in the kitchen. Let me know if you want to talk. Whatever it is, she started showing respect and support, and they did commit, and they did get married. But it took a lot of work. And they were together for a long time. They have kids, by the way, but they were never married. But these types of things really helped to realize this is what he really needed, and that's all he really needed. At the end of the day, once that was there, he was ready to commit. The next one is you both need to give in to each other's fears a little bit. Not give in to each other's fears. It's almost like you have to respect each other's fears and work around them. So this is one of the last ones. Sorry if this video is a little long. Basically, avoidant partners, if you're the avoidant partner, anxious partners or fearful avoidant or whoever your partner is, they want more affection than you do. So you do have to give that and make sure that you're making them feel loved and reassured. But on the flip side, if you're the partner of the avoidant, you know that commitment is their fear. So don't push what they're afraid of. Meet in the middle where you guys can meet your needs without bumping each other's fears too frequently, and nurture each other's needs. So as an anxious partner or the partner of avoidant, you guys think that commitment is the right thing, which usually that's true to some extent. Right is a bit of a strong term, but that's also the avoidance fear. So let them decide when that's going to happen, because that's what they're afraid of, right? You have to be patient with that. You guys want affection, so as the avoidant partner, it's your job to be more affectionate, be more romantic. Even if you can't do that in the bedroom, try a little bit more. It's very important. Otherwise, the relationship will struggle. And that is very important. I think that as two individuals, working together creates harmony, but it also creates a lot of trust, and those things are really important. So these are kind of the things that helps an avoidant to propose. So let's summarize it and then we'll wrap it up. So the first one is have boundaries while still being flexible. The next one is being accepting of your partner. The third one is direct communication. The fourth one is respect and support. And the fifth one is accept the other one's fears and try to nurture and heal while simultaneously compromising. I hope that makes a lot of sense. Sorry if this video was all over the place. A lot of thoughts, really busy work day, like really busy work week for me. So this is a lot. Go ahead and subscribe, like, and I'll see you in the next one.